exactly.
Memorable.
That's right.
Oh, there we
It's
go.
very memorable.
That's very water.
He got recognized when he walked in the office today. He didn't tell you that, did he? He didn't tell you that.
Listen, hide the women, hide the beer, hide the money.
Absolutely. Hey guys, welcome back to Business and Brews Show.
I said sorry for the wait. Been a lot on my plate for being great. Been popular, it's not a debate. Been plotting on ways to align with the greats and find the opposite of Hollywood and someone to date. She got 100 followers and turned love in hip hop. Just stop.
Hey, welcome back to the Business and Brews Show. I'm Gevin Vinson,
I'm Ryan Smeltz.
and it's our mission here to actually highlight and spotlight different industries in the area, so that way we can actually expose everyone to different things and the inner workings of different industries.
Thanks so much, Kevin. So tonight, guys, I'm very excited, honored, happy, and we are privileged to be joined by Andy Wallace, who spent years, I forgot to count, in investments. And Gevin here is going to tell us a little bit about what we're drinking tonight.
Today we're actually highlighting Carolina Brewing Company. Their summer ale. Summer's coming to an end, so we're going to actually highlight that. Quick cheers for that. Delicious brew. And that's what we're highlighting today.
Awesome. So, Andy, as if we haven't gotten a little conversation in beforehand, I know a few people might be excited to hear about where you're from and what your favorite football team is.
Okay. My name's Andy Wallace. I've lived here in the Triangle area for 22 years. I moved here from Boston the summer of '97.
Ah, okay.
So of course my favorite sports teams would be the Boston Red Sox and the New England Patriots.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I know that made at least one person happy besides myself.
Well, that's the whole Tom Brady thing.
Exactly.
You hate him or you love him, right?
Yep.
That's pretty much the only two options.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's like, oh, he's just okay.
Yeah, he doesn't hear that very often.
Yeah, I'm sure he does it. I'm sure he does it.
So, Andy, last week we did our first two episodes, and I brought the beer for that. And Gavin got to ask me what my favorite beer was. Of course, I brought my favorite. And then he got to talk about his favorite beer. So, what's your favorite beer?
I don't have a particular beer favorite. If it's cold and wet, I'll drink it.
Okay.
I like this one though, what we're drinking now, the summer ale from Carolina Brewing Company.
I dig it.
I dig it. I dig it. It's wet. I'll drink it.
Absolutely.
That's right. It's wet, cold, I'll drink it.
So, you're from up north. You said you moved down here when?
And 97.
Okay. So that was a couple
22
of years
years
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Did you spend most of your time in the investment industry down here then?
About half and half, actually.
Okay.
I moved out of here in '97. Worked in the field, worked in the business for about 12 years. I was injured in a car accident and had to retire way too young. That was about 10 years ago. I stayed active with investing and stayed active kind of mentoring and coaching some younger advisors over the years. Well, met Ryan a couple of weeks ago. We just got talking, and the other day he asked me to come in and join you guys tonight.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for being a part of this, and we definitely appreciate your time. So what's on with this? I'm going to start off with the first question. If Ryan, it looks like Ryan's still checking his phone.
I was
Text messages.
sharing our live over there with the rest of the world.
I know you are. You're always working, man. Always working. Even when it looks like he's not, he's always working. I guess the first question I have is, it seems like Ryan and myself we're pretty close together in age, and a lot of the people in our audience are around our age where they're just now starting to start families. They've starting to get started in their career field, and with that, they're really trying to figure out what investment vehicles are good to start with. What's a good foundation? If you got a little bit of money that you're starting to put away, and you've got that, and you have that emergency fund, where should you start investing at, or how should you start that process?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the emergency fund, because I've got 3 sons. They're about the same age as you guys, okay? And they've been asking me for years. Their friends have been asking me for years, how do I get started? Where's the best place to put my money? But until you have that emergency fund, the best place to put your money is that emergency fund. You've got to have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside, because you just don't know.
Right.
The unemployment picture around here, they say is great, but I know an awful lot of kids looking for work today. If that situation happens, you've got to be ready. You don't want to have to be cashing in investments that fluctuate in value. They could be down. They could have lost value just when you need the most. You want to have that emergency fund covered. But some basic things for people when they start investing is to set some goals. What's this money for?
Right.
I mean, I always used to use an analogy of having different buckets for the money. The emergency fund is the first bucket. That's for cash, for money that you may need to spend in the event of an emergency. Okay, it's not there to buy a new big screen TV. It's not there to, if your car dies, maybe it's there to help fix your car. Or
They just saw 85-inch TV, man.
Right, exactly. How did I live without one? I may get one when I grow up.
That's okay.
But the way I see it is, as you fill these buckets, you go from safer investments to more aggressive investments.
Right.
The less risky investments, they're hard to get excited about.
Right.
But I think the first thing that people should take a look at, if you're employed by a company that offers a retirement plan, is I think you should really take part in that, the 401k plan, if that's available.
Okay. So
Most companies offer a match, and people say, I'm gonna put money in, so when the company matches it, how much should I put in? You should at least match the company match.
Right.
So if the company is gonna match the first 4% or 6% of your investment, take 4% of your salary. Take 4% of your commissions, take 4% of whatever you're earning, and put that into that 401k plan. It sounds like a boring investment because it's going into mutual funds. You don't get to choose the mutual funds necessarily. Your employer gets to choose them, but you know what? You put in 4%, they put in 4%. Guys, that's 100% return on your money in the first year.
Yeah.
That's going to jumpstart your investment.
Right.
Maybe if you're setting up a traditional 401k plan, it's going to be tax deferred. You're going to be funding it with pre-tax dollars.
Right.
Okay, if you're funding with pre-tax dollars, when it comes out of the other end, it's going to come out and be taxed when you take the money out.
Okay.
A number of years ago, a Roth investment option was introduced for 401ks, and that just means your money can be invested with after-tax dollars. And people say, why would I want to do that if I can not have to pay taxes or pay taxes? Why would I want to do that with my investment? Well, the reason is, if you put the money, as a rule, with anything, when you're dealing with tax investments, if it's pre-tax dollars that you're investing, you're going to pay taxes when the money comes out.
Right.
If you're investing it with after-tax dollars, the money comes out tax-free.
Right. Okay, I see.
Okay, so that's a big deal. For you guys, you're in your early 30s, mid-30s, that's a lot of years for that money to be growing and compounding.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, and that's really the first place that most people, I think, should start.
Yeah.
And at least take advantage of the match.
Right. Do you recommend, maybe every year or every other year increasing that percentage, since it is automatic, which is one of the things people like about the 401ks? Like if you can, but if you start at the 4%, do you recommend increasing that percentage as the years progress? Or do you?
When I recommend, when somebody starts, I would recommend that when they start, as we said, if you're matching 4, 5, or 6%, put in 4, 5, or 6%.
Yes, sir.
Because most people sit and say, I can't afford that, I can barely get by on my paycheck now, right? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there saying, taking 5% out of that's not gonna work. Well, you know what, you find out, it's coming out of your paycheck. You're not gonna get a chance to spend it in the first place,
Right.
so it's already in that account, you're not
Yeah.
gonna miss it.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is, you're gonna find out, you're not missing it. You never see it, so you don't miss it, it goes right into your account. So maybe after you've been in there 3 months or 6 months, you increase it, go from 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Go from 5 to 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Because most plans let you put it up to maybe 10%
Right. Right.
of your earnings.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's a great place to start. I mean, especially with we were having this conversation earlier before we went live. I know a lot of people from our generation are really strapped with student loan debt right now because, which is a huge issue for our generation. So a lot of people aren't really investing the way they should. And that I think that's a great place to start is that 401k because, like you said, it's automatic. You don't see that money. So.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, might be coming out of left field here, so I guess this one first. How much do you know about the thrift savings plan and how it relates to a 401k?
Which thrift savings plan is that?
The military.
I haven't worked with that stuff in a lot of years, Ryan, but it works. It works very similarly in that it's funded, usually funded with pre-tax dollars.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So that means the money goes in. You never see your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but when it comes out at the other end, whenever you take it out, you're gonna pay taxes on it.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing, I've seen a lot of people over the years, they've used these 401k plans instead of an emergency fund, or instead of a savings account or something like that. Okay, and that's kind of a crazy idea to do it, for a couple of reasons. One is, governments don't give away tax breaks without taking a bunch of stuff away from you,
Right.
right? Okay, so they're giving you a tax break. You're paying the pre-tax dollars or after-tax dollars. It grows either tax deferred or tax free.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take money out of those accounts, there's restrictions.
Yeah.
Okay, if you take the money out of an IRA before you're 59 and a half, you're gonna pay taxes on that money plus a 10% penalty.
Yeah.
So let's say you've got $100,000 or $50,000
Mm-hmm.
in one of your 401k plan at work.
Mm-hmm.
And you sit there and say, you know what, I want to take 10 grand out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Take $10,000 out of it, you say, yeah, I get 10 grand, I didn't think I was gonna have $10,000, this is cool. But you get the $10,000 come April 15th,
Mm-hmm.
okay? That $10,000 is gonna be added to your taxable income, you're gonna pay taxes on it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're gonna have to pay an extra 10%.
On top of that,
You have to pay an extra $1,000 as a penalty on top of that, so it's really not worth it.
Right.
Right.
Now, some companies allow you to take loans against your 401k, and that's cool,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you pay them back.
Right.
Okay, if you pay them back, you basically have 5 years to pay the loan back.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pay it back in that 5 years, whatever you didn't pay back, that's gonna be taxable.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so it's gonna be just like you took the money out in the first place, so.
Yeah. That is a great point. So, you guys have money in a 401k, make sure you leave it there. And I guess a good point would be like if you leave one company, just roll it over into another one and roll it over to another.
You could either roll it over into another one, or you could speak to a financial advisor and get some advice on how to do that, or you can do it yourself.
Right. Okay, that's
You can do it yourself. The thing is, when you do it, make sure you know what the heck you're doing. Because if you do it incorrectly, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. I've seen people over the years, trying to save a few bucks on fees or commissions or whatever, but losing tens of thousands of dollars by
Right.
screwing up the paperwork in the first place.
Yeah. That's a very great
Yeah,
point.
so that's a huge thing. But once you get beyond the 401k,
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of great information. Most companies, if you have a 401k plan at work, and they're working through a major company like Vanguard or Fidelity or whoever that may be, there's gonna be lots of great resources available to you. The company's not gonna be able to give you the information, so it's really the ball's in your court. You're the one who has to look into what are the best investment options. When you get beyond that, and you start investing outside of the 401k, the options for your investments are limitless.
Mm-hmm.
What I found, I was in the investment world, in the financial world for over 30 years, and what I found is that there's a lot of information out there,
Right.
but most of it's not good information. Okay? When I went, if I started here at my barber,
Mm-hmm.
going to get my hair cut, and the guy's cutting my hair and giving investment advice, the guy sitting in the chair, I said, oh man,
No.
we're screwed. I mean, the end is near, man. The end is near, I've always been suspicious of financial advice that somebody has written down on the back of a cocktail napkin
Oh, yes.
because I met somebody in a bar the night before,
Yeah.
you know? But it's simple, it's not simple, but it's basic. Couple things is don't be greedy,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Everybody loves to talk about the stock that they bought
Mm-hmm.
that made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes to talk
What
about
about the
the
losers?
success. You don't hear about them.
Do you know about the losers?
You know, you hear about how great somebody is at the slot machines,
Yeah.
or playing poker or something like that. You don't hear about all the money that they left on the table to get to that point.
So, well, with that, I mean, you bring up a great point. I mean, if you're to the point where you want to hire a professional and have someone like a financial planner actually hire one, what are some of the things that you should look for in a financial planner?
Ask a lot of questions,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because if you're gonna be working with somebody like this,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully you're gonna be looking for somebody that you can trust, that you believe that you can work with for a long period of time.
Right.
It's a relationship business.
Absolutely.
Because what I offer my clients as a financial advisor and what the guy in the next office and the guy across the street, we all work with the same, pretty much the same product mix.
Right.
Okay, a stock is a stock and a mutual fund is a mutual fund and whatever else it is,
Mhm.
where everybody was pretty much offering the same stuff to their clients.
Right.
Okay, so what set us apart? Did the advisor ask you a lot of questions, get to know you as a client? Did the financial advisor actually get what you were telling them?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
You know, it's one thing to ask a lot of questions, are they paying attention to the answers?
Mhm.
Are they asking questions of you that imply that they were actually listening to you?
Right.
Do you get a sense that they're acting in your best interest?
I guess that's where that word fiduciary really comes in.
Yeah, that's a little bit different,
Yeah.
but when you really, I mean, right now, it's not a charity. Financial advisors go into the business to make money, and they make good money,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But every one of my clients made more money from what I offered than they did, and that's the way it is for most advisors.
Right.
But you have to find somebody you can trust, somebody that you believe, somebody that you actually like.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been in the business for over 10 years now,
Yeah.
and I still get calls from clients, I still bump into them around town, and they're still friends.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, it's
Speaks
kind of,
volumes.
it's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
And I would have thought, after all this time, that I forgot all about me, you know.
It speaks volumes about your character. you know.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Hope so.
So what is the difference between an advisor and a fiduciary?
Well, there's a legal definition, and there's, you know, there are fiduciary accounts that people can have, but you always want to have an advisor who works in that role. Typically, if an advisor's working in that role, you're paying a fee for the service, you're paying a fee for the advice, typically a percentage of the amount of money you're investing. It's paid on an annual basis.
Mhm.
That money is managed a little bit differently, it is viewed a little bit differently than if it's in a commission-based account where you're buying and selling and trading.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
That's great. You got a next question or don't have it?
I got about 1 million. But,
You got about $1 million? Okay.
Yeah, so I want to say it's Robert Kiyosaki says, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how much money you keep.
exactly.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that saying, and how could someone put that into practice?
You know, when I was growing up, I had that conversation with my father as well. And I got my first paycheck, I worked at a gas station. I started working there in 1970 when I was 15 years old,
Mhm.
paid $1.60 an hour, $1.65 an hour. And I asked Dad, well, what do I do with this money? You know,
Mhm.
all $16 or $18 or whatever it was I made, you know. But what he said is, you always save some of it.
Mhm.
Always save some of it, and, you know, pay yourself first. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, pay yourself first, but I got to know. And if you're putting money into a 401k and you're putting 4 or 6% in there, well, you're paying yourself first. But it's also a good idea to take some of that other money and
Yeah.
put it someplace in cash,
Mhm.
so that you've got a bucket of money for cash if there's any planned expenses.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So if you're gonna be buying a car or tires or
Yeah.
coming up with a down payment for a home, or whatever it might be.
Repairs around the house as well.
You know, you gotta take that out of the paycheck at the beginning of the month, with what's there when the checkbook, when your check hits your checking account, and not wait to see if there's anything left, because there's never anything left.
Of course not.
Right?
Of course not. Never is. So,
And if there is, I want one of those checkbooks, guys. I haven't found one
Ryan,
yet.
give him the checkbook.
Yeah, you're holding on me.
Right, yeah, Ryan has plenty of them. So. Yeah, absolutely. I think to your point, I mean, and I think we were having this conversation the other day. You'd be surprised if you actually do like a thorough inspection and analysis of your actual account, like where your money actually goes, like what you're actually spending your money on. I mean, a lot of the ancillary fees now, because they make it so easy with the smartphones to pay for this app and pay for this and pay for that. It adds up pretty quick.
It's really, it's very easy. You have the apps on your phone. You've got a debit card that works.
Yeah.
You don't even have to stick it in the machine. You just kind of wave it at the machine. It's cleaning out your account.
They make it easy to take your money.
Scared the hell out of me the first time I did it. I pulled the card out of my pocket. I was reaching to put it in the machine. It goes beep. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
What just happened? But to kind of pick up what Kiyosaki did, what he's talking about is pay yourself first. But also, you guys are independent business owners. Okay, so you not only got to pay yourself first, but you got to take some money and put it aside for the government.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a real surprise when most people start their first business, okay, and they don't put that money aside, because all of a sudden they sit down with their accountant, or they sit down with TurboTax and figure out, they said, where the heck am I going to get that extra money?
Yeah.
You've got to have a budget. It doesn't have to be a real spreadsheet where everything's balanced down to the penny, but you've got to have an idea where the money's going.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
taught my kids when they were growing up. I think they paid attention to it, but I said, live on half, if you can, live on half of what you make.
Right.
You're gonna need 10% for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
You figured that's gonna happen. I figured 10% for emergencies. And I'm kind of losing track of my percentages here, but whatever's left, then you can invest.
Absolutely.
That other last 25–30%, you can invest elsewhere.
Absolutely.
And you have to have that discipline. It doesn't have to be those strict percentages. It doesn't have to be a specific amount every month.
Yeah.
But it's got to be that mentality, that money mindset. Because that's the only thing that's going to build wealth, is to spend less than you make.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Somebody said, Andy, why don't you write a book about it?
There's several
I
books
said,
out there.
it'd be 3 pages long. It's the title, it's the table of contents, and spend less than you make. The end.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, spend less than you make, and reduce your expenses, and make more income over time. Yeah, it sounds so.
We kind of make it a little bit more complicated than we have to, and of course that it is. But I mean, the main thing is that people get excited about, oh man, I just heard this thing for, online trading, or day trading, or crypto, or whatever else it might be. Okay, but they haven't taken care of the basics.
Right. Yeah. Right.
If you're going to start trading stocks, you need to have some cash to fall back on.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're going to trade orders, if you're going to own crypto, that's cool, but you have to have some cash available that you're ready to say goodbye to in case something weird happens, like it happens all the time.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, with that, if you're looking. In your opinion, do you think that buying a home is still a solid investment over renting?
That's kind of like asking somebody their favorite color.
Yeah.
Or what's their favorite food? I mean, because it's really a preference rather than it's not a strict financial thing. There's a lot of people. One of my sons really watches Grant Cardone. Really loves Grant Cardone, and I like him too.
Mr. 10X, huh?
Yeah, Mr. 10, exactly. But you know what? He's very strict about that. He's adamant that you rent where you live and you own what you invest in.
Right.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
But
You
we
know,
all don't have $1 billion of
Right.
real estate portfolio.
Right, but he didn't either. But he didn't either.
Yeah.
He was dirt poor not that many years ago.
Yeah,
so
oh yeah, he started in the car business.
He started in the car business and
Mhm.
had some interesting challenges that he was dealing with, but, and to get back to your question, I don't know.
Get you off track.
I don't know, I mean, it's a matter of preference.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I like owning my home.
Mhm.
I like, well, yeah, I own most of it, the bank owns a little bit still,
Right.
not much. But I like that, because there are some tax benefits and so forth.
Right.
But but when I moved here 22 years ago, I said, I ain't moving again.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
I live behind a senior retirement community,
Mhm.
right behind one. I'm gonna put in a gate. And if I need to, I'm gonna walk up the hill and move in. Okay, and I'm just saying, I'm just not into, I guess, but that's me.
Yeah.
But that's me.
Yeah.
But I know people that would, I met a guy, ran into a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he said there is no way I will ever own a home.
Mhm.
Now, he was 24 years old, and he was working at Starbucks, so that might have something, that might.
That's your
you know,
barber.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
that
That's your barber.
No, that wasn't my barber, that was somebody else.
was working at Starbucks.
But it was, but I understood where he was coming from.
Right,
He
absolutely.
says, I'm living in Cary, North Carolina right now.
Oh my.
I don't know where I'm gonna be in 2 years, or 3 years, or
Yeah.
5 years.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So
I
it's
know
more of a
it's really-
situational, yeah.
But I'm assuming I'm gonna be here for another 15 or 20 or
Yeah.
30.
Mhm.
Because 90-something years old, guy, maybe 15 or 20.
That's right.
So would you say it's fair then that for someone who does make the decision to invest, to put into practice what you talked about with the safe bucket? So when the water heater goes out. or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You
fails
need to
inspection.
do that.
Yeah, even if you're renting, I think you can, yeah, is what you said, yeah.
Even if you're renting, you need to do that, because you may have to get the heck out of that place.
Yeah, exactly. Life
Now,
happens, right?
your choice, maybe not your choice, you may have to move quickly. So we're kind of getting off track, I'm not talking about much of anything right now.
Oh, no, you're right. Well, that's the name of this podcast, so we're talking about what you're
Business
doing.
and beers.
I'm just always curious because I hold those conversations, and right now I rent.
Mhm.
So when the sink leaks, I put it in a work order, and when the water heater breaks,
Mhm.
I put in a work order, and when I'm bored, I put in a work order.
Mhm.
There's a buddy that works next to me at my flea market location, had a leak in the ground between the meter and his house. He grabbed a shovel.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, there's nothing else you can do.
And money and work and blood and sweat and tears later,
Yeah.
he thinks he might have fixed the problem
Yeah.
because he is a homeowner,
Right,
not a plumber.
right.
So it's always that toss up. However, when he had to go to Lowe's or wherever he bought it and purchased he for some reason used black roll pipe to replace it
Mhm.
and had to pay that money, that was I can buy. Of course, nobody feels good about it. I'd rather get a car,
Right.
you know.
Right, absolutely.
But being able to make that purchase to
Right.
fund his repair,
Right.
wasn't going to take food off the table
Right,
for his
right,
family.
right. It's done.
So,
Right.
so that's why I ask questions like that, because oftentimes I think people put a lot of value in the investment aspect of the business
Right.
or purchasing a home,
Mhm.
and forget about the fact that you have to make sure that you still have a leg to stand on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no sense in being house poor. Yeah,
No, no.
that is not, yeah, definitely not. No, I think from my perspective, I mean, I definitely agree with you. There is that piece of it, but, if it makes sense financially, then yes, I think it is a great decision. But like you said, it just depends on what phase in your life you're at.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when you rent, in the lease ends, you walk away with nothing. When you sell in this market, you walk away with a good chunk of equity.
Oh, you're right.
It just all depends on where you're at.
Right now, it's all about information and knowledge.
Yeah, yeah.
I had this idea in my head about 2 years ago, and I came up with an idea, BYOB. When it's not to bring your own beer. Thank you, appreciate the bring.
Not a problem.
But it was a series of BYOBs. One of them was be your own bank.
Mhm.
We all need banks. I mean, those checks ain't gonna cash themselves.
Right.
So you need to have some place to go to have that done. Do you need a big, full-service national bank for that?
Mhm.
Maybe. If you've got a big business or tons of money or whatever it might be, you might need one of those giants. You know, those guys that are kind of have been like too big to fail.
Mhm.
They failed.
Yeah.
They didn't fail.
Yeah.
They didn't fail. The rest of us bailed them out.
Right.
They're still here.
Yeah.
I don't do business with them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? I recommend credit unions. I recommend my sons all have credit union accounts.
Mhm.
They're owned by, basically, credit unions are nonprofit groups. They're owned by the members.
Mhm.
They pay a little bit better interest.
Yeah, that's true.
Very
That's
little.
very true.
Very little, because the interest rates are so low right now.
Yeah.
They charge lower rates on their loans.
Yeah.
And you're kind of bypassing this huge national infrastructure, because most of these places are small
Mhm.
or smaller.
You know, you can actually
Local
go in there and actually
organizations,
talk
you
to
can go in there
somebody.
and actually talk to somebody and they know you.
Mhm.
Okay, but that's kind of like BYOB, be your own bank.
Mhm.
And you can do that, you know, and that's a great place to pay yourself first,
Mhm.
okay? Because they're gonna have accounts, they're not gonna charge you for those accounts. Or if they charge you, the fees are minimal. You know, they're gonna pay you interest on what you have in those accounts. So it's a great place to start.
Mhm.
It's a great place, you know, they try to, a lot of these places, I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm not gonna give them a plug, okay, but I'm.
Not yet. You're not getting paid yet.
Not yet. Okay, but, you know, but we have an account with a local credit union that operates primarily here in the Triangle.
Mhm.
So I know that their loans are going to individuals and small businesses
Mhm.
in the 7 counties around us.
Exactly.
That's a big deal. Let's keep the money local,
Yeah,
keeps it
exactly.
here rather than having it shipped to Charlotte
Mhm.
or Boston or New York or
Right.
San Francisco or wherever it may be going.
Yeah.
It stays here in the state.
That's that's a very valid point.
Another BYOB, be your own broker.
Mhm.
That may be heresy for at least one of us in this town. Okay, and I'm not saying don't use financial experts, financial advisors. No, I'm not saying don't use that, but, you know, be smart, do your own research,
Absolutely, absolutely.
verify the information.
Mhm. Just don't trust one person's
Or,
word.
trust but verify, you know, President Reagan said that 30, almost 40 years ago.
Still
About
true.
Russia. It's still true today. I mean, you can trust them, check it out.
Yeah.
It's easier to check out now than it's ever been,
Yeah. Yeah, you're
you
right.
know?
Yeah, I mean, the transparency is, I mean, you can find out anything nowadays. I mean, it used to be that it wasn't as transparent as it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you're exactly right. 30, 40 years ago, and you couldn't find out a lot of the information that's available on Google
Right.
nowadays.
Right.
You're exactly right.
Another, you know, the other one, I guess the last one I have is like, BYOB is, either be your own boss or build your own business.
Mhm.
That's how I met Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, when I graduated from college, this is the story they told us as we were graduating and interviewing for these jobs was, yeah, we're gonna help you find a great job at a great company,
Mhm.
and you're gonna work there 40 years and live happily ever after. You have a pension, you have a retirement plan, you have all these great benefits.
Right.
That doesn't work.
That
It
doesn't
didn't work 40 years ago. It
Mhm.
sure doesn't work today.
No, no,
So
they
you
don't
kind
want
of
you
have to be
to.
you kind of have to take charge of this stuff yourself.
Absolutely.
And as far as being your own boss or building your own business, I mean, my kids are always talking about side hustles.
Mhm.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but I think it means they're trying to build their own business, you know? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
guys, but I think that's what it's about, you know?
That's exactly what it is.
You know, but yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and it also helps you get to those goals that we started talking about half an hour, 45 minutes ago.
Right, absolutely.
You know, you can pay yourself first, but they ain't enough money, you gotta get enough money. How are you gonna do that?
Right, absolutely.
You're gonna steal it? Probably not.
Yeah.
You're
hopefully
gonna earn
not.
it? You know, do you wanna get a second job?
Mhm.
You hate the first one, why do you think the second one's gonna be any better, right?
Absolutely.
You and I have had that conversation, right? It's not, you know, so
Yeah.
what do you have to lose?
Yeah, and those are definitely great points, and one of the reasons that we wanted to have you on here is because, you know, it's like we were talking about earlier, I mean, with our generation, you know, that dream of working somewhere for 30, 40 years, retiring with a pension, that's long gone, but it seems like that kind of gets perpetuated to a lot of people whenever they start working, and, you know, just having that insight that one, we're living longer, and two, we need to start saving for retirement, start saving for those rainy day funds as well, just to be prepared for when life does happen, because it does
Right.
happen.
And that's really what we're talking about here tonight, is, you know, you gotta take charge, be responsible.
Mhm.
Government's not gonna bail you out, government shouldn't have to bail you out, you gotta take responsibility for yourself.
Absolutely.
And, because if you don't, you may not be happy with what you get,
Yeah.
you know?
All right, been pretty quiet today.
That's just making me think of too often when I was in the Army. It was,
You were in the Army?
Yeah.
Oh, never again.
Oh, never guess. The barely better was in the Army.
Dead giveaway. There was always this thing, this procedure or whatever that I didn't like, or somebody didn't like, and we would go to the platoon sergeant, squad leader, lieutenant, whoever, and be like, oh, this is stupid, we should fix it, blah, 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 whatever. And then they're like, all right, yeah, I see where you're coming from, no problem. Next day, it's fixed. And they're like, all right, now you gotta do it this way. And it's not at all how we had imagined in our heads. That's the same concept, you know, not setting yourself up for success financially, holding your hand out, getting something handed to you and going, this isn't what I wanted. Well, that's what you earned.
That's right, that's right.
That's what you made me think of just
yeah.
there when you talked about it. So pretty much up to this point, I feel like we've talked a lot about some pretty safe and sound investment strategies. You know, your safe bucket, paying yourself first, your IRA, your 401k. So what's something high risk that someone could look into after they've taken care of their safe buckets?
There's so many things, I mean, people love talking about stocks. Everybody loves talking about
Yeah.
stocks. My kids used to talk to me about stocks in high school, and say, you guys get, you know, make $10 a week, I mean, what do you? This is kind of a silly conversation. My caution here for that is that we're at or near an all-time high
Mm-hmm.
in the stock market values.
Right.
Okay, that's, you know, we are also at or near a high in this marketplace in real estate values.
Absolutely.
Okay, that should give people pause for a minute and say, now what? I mean, nothing goes up straight line, nothing goes down in a straight line, it kind of goes up and down and up and down, and where are we? Are we on the way up, are we at the top, are we on the way down, we don't know it yet?
Yeah.
So, what I like for people, what I've recommended to my kids, I don't recommend investments for a living anymore, I haven't done it for a long time.
Mhm.
But I recommend they look at good companies that pay a dividend.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay, dividend's like a share of the profits.
right, absolutely.
You don't get a share, you don't get it all,
Yeah.
No.
but,
That's interesting you say that, I mean, because it seems like a lot of businesses now are geared, especially with a lot of startups now, and a lot of the business structures that they have, a lot of them are geared more towards losing revenue and trying to jumpstart the business. I mean,
isn't that an exciting place to
Yeah.
put your money?
That's
Yeah,
right.
we all lost $10 million last year. Invest with us,
You
you
know,
know,
you look
I'm
at
going the
your-
other direction. I don't put my money at people who are actually making money.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at your Ubers, your Lyft, and some of the other, you know, they're not, you know, the balance sheets aren't, they don't look like your traditional companies did,
Right.
you know, 20 years ago.
Right.
And that's a valid point there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, now, does that always work? No,
No.
look at General Electric. General Electric 20 years ago was the biggest company.
Yeah. I don't know where they are now.
You know, and look where they're now. They're like, you know, their stock's less than $10 a share.
Yeah, they're what, $7, $8 or something.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
but it used to be the biggest company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Apple was at the top of the pile now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GE was at the top of the pile.
It's just funny because, you know, whenever there's a sale on something in the grocery store, that's usually when people go out and buy it. And when
Right.
prices are high, that's when usually people hold off. But
Right.
it seems like the stock market is the opposite.
Exactly.
Like everybody wants to buy when it's high
Exactly.
and run away when it's low.
Exactly. You know, real estate's the same way.
Yeah, it's the same way.
I
Everybody's
mean,
scared,
people,
yeah.
you know, people are throwing money at the real estate brokers, there's auctions in the front hall
Mhm.
of these companies, and you're taking bids above asking price, right there in the front steps of the house.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? 10 years ago, you know, when banks like Wachovia failed,
Mhm.
and banks stopped lending,
Mhm.
and the prices were down in the dumps,
Yeah,
nobody wanted to buy real estate.
right, absolutely.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
prices dropped in half.
Yeah.
It's the same damn house, nobody wanted to buy it. Right? I mean,
Yeah, it's all perception, right?
it is.
It's all
I
perception.
I just gotten back from Iraq, and some friends had a little inheritance that happened, and they bought 10 properties, and I helped them fix them up. I wish that I knew one thing about real estate back then.
Wish you would've took the equity instead of the money then, huh? Yeah.
But they bought 10 properties, and that's how they retired.
Absolutely. Oh, a
Yeah.
lot of people did that.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it's coming again
Yeah.
in the future, whether it's this year, next year, 5 years, whatever, because things just don't keep going up to the top.
No, they do
So
not.
there are gonna be a lot of people, I recommend people have a lot of, if they don't know where to put their money, keep it in cash. You may not be making anything on it, but
But when that opportunity arises, you want to be able to strike.
Exactly.
And if the banks are starting to tighten up the actual lending, then you can't get the cash.
right, exactly.
Yeah, those are
The only
choices.
people who were able to do that were the people who had cash on hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that have the good deal when the
Yeah.
market turns around.
And people did the same thing in the stock market.
Mhm.
You ever see that movie, The Big Short?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
Everybody, millions and millions of people, you would think, hearing and talking to people, that everybody lost money. Well, not everybody.
Yeah.
Almost everybody lost money. But there were a few guys, that guy,
That's smart.
I forget his name, Christian Bale played him,
Yeah.
Michael Burry. He made billions because he took the other side of the bet
Right.
on which way.
On short
real-
stock, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The guy, John Paulson, ran a hedge fund. They wrote a book about him, somebody wrote a book about him called The Greatest Trade Ever.
Mhm.
And it was about him taking that same bet that Michael Burry did, but bigger. He made $9 billion in a year. In a year.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Talk about return.
I was
Talk
amazed.
about
I
ROI.
was amazed he kind of showed up for work January 1st. If I had $9 billion, I'm good.
I think I'm okay.
I'm good, man.
Every time on that. So,
Exactly.
all right, great. I guess, you know, with that, you know, we talked about a couple different investment vehicles, we talked about stocks, and, you know, one thing I've always wondered is, as far as long-term investments, what are your view between ETFs and mutual funds? Do you have a preference, or are they kind of different products, or kind of the same but different?
They're similar.
Similar.
They're similar in that they're pools of stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're either some are professionally selected and managed,
Mm-hmm.
as mutual funds are. There's also indexes, like index mutual funds. Vanguard is very good at index mutual funds.
Right.
But there are also ETFs, or exchange traded funds, which is a basket of stocks that will mimic a particular index. Might be the Standard & Poor's 500, it might be the Dow, it might be any one of, there's hundreds of them, hundreds of these different types of ETFs now. ETFs have very, very low fees,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And they're traded like stocks.
Right.
So you could buy it in the morning, sell it in the afternoon, and then buy it again
Yeah.
if you were so inclined before the market closed at 4
Right.
o'clock, you know? Because they trade like stocks.
So they're a little bit more liquid than.
They're a lot more liquid.
Yeah.
You pay a commission going in, you pay a commission you pay something going in, you pay something going out, depending on who manages or who does that transaction for you. Mutual funds might have sales charges up front.
Mm-hmm.
They might have them deferred. They all have management fees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They may have transaction fees. There's a lot of different pricing structures there.
Mm-hmm.
Mutual funds are not designed for trading. They're designed for long-term hold.
Right. Okay.
Okay, because they're a bucket of stocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there might be 25, there might be 50, there might be 500 different stocks in that portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the guys who are, that would be like an actively managed fund. So the people who are running that have a specific mandate how that fund is supposed to be managed.
Mhm.
Are they investing in large company, growth companies that are, that don't pay a dividend?
Yeah.
Are they value companies or dividend-paying companies that do pay a dividend?
Mhm.
Are they small cap companies? Are they international companies?
Right.
How do they invest? They invest in real estate, they invest in commodities, they invest in all this other stuff.
Mhm.
There's something for everybody out there.
Right. Just depends on your risk tolerance.
ETFs are typically used by more active managers, or by more active investors in mutual funds.
Ah, okay.
Okay? You'll typically find mutual funds in a retirement plan,
Mhm.
or if you have an IRA, an individual retirement account,
Mhm.
people typically have mutual funds in those,
Okay.
okay? But I love ETFs, man.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, you want the final question?
Okay, so, for those who don't know, in the corner of the warehouse, I got this little box. And it's got 4 pieces of equipment on it that light up. And everybody walks by and goes, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's where we make our money."
So you have a printing press in your warehouse?
So we got a rig, me and a buddy. I say it's one of my companies, but we're not registered through the state yet because we're still making sure this is something
I
that,
don't think I would have said that on camera, but.
well, it's our side hustle.
Yeah,
Right,
okay, gotcha.
I got it.
So we mine cryptocurrency.
Okay.
We mine Ethereum we've got 6, I think, GPUs up and running right now. So what we do with that is once we mine the Ethereum, we'll either 1, hold it, or 2, trade it for smaller altcoins.
Okay.
Of course, placing that bet, hoping that the penny stocks, if you will skyrocket, and we'll at least have a few dollars the next
Mhm.
day. But if not, they just sit there. So my question is, what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency investing, and where I don't know if that's a really fair question, but where do you see it going in the future, or what are your thoughts on the future of cryptocurrency?
I've invested in crypto. I like crypto. Kind of, I've learned firsthand how scary it can be because I've lost some money. Some of the stuff has just disappeared.
Yeah.
To who knows where.
Yeah. Somebody's pocket.
Right. But I think it's going to be a viable thing. But the key is cryptocurrency. It's a substitute currency. It's not really a substitute asset class or asset investment. It is highly speculative. Look what's happened to the biggest Bitcoin. I mean, it was way up around 20 grand at one point. It dropped down, lost 80%,
Yeah.
almost 80% of its value. I stopped watching it every day because I have enough gray hair. And I don't have, and it's not a tremendous amount of money that I have invested in it. And when I bought some Ethereum, and I bought some Litecoin, and some of these other coins, some of the little altcoins. I keep my statements that I printed off after buying them as a souvenir. Because it's the only thing I have to show for putting money into some of these things, But I think some are gonna be left standing after there's a shakeout. Bitcoin will, I'm sure Ethereum will, and some of the others probably will. It makes me nervous when you start hearing somebody like Facebook wants to get in on the act.
Yeah.
The governments are gonna wanna get in on the act, but
Yeah.
they can't control it, so it
Yeah.
makes them crazy, they can't control it, so they're gonna try to just figure some way to do it.
Mhm.
No.
The anonymity offered by the coins,
Mhm.
which is one of its big attractions for all of us,
Mhm.
it drives the regulators and drives the powers that be absolutely nuts.
Yeah, especially after that Silk Road incident, I'm sure
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but you know what, but they look at cash. I mean, there's more $100 bills in circulation than there are $1 bills in circulation.
Mhm.
Most of those $100 bills are overseas. What the hell are they doing overseas? I mean, it's U.S. currency. It's used for Off books transactions, you know, I mean, it's the only currency that anybody in the world trusts, right? So,
Still point. That's a very good point.
you know, it's the same fiat currency, just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not backed by anything, either is crypto, so.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, ever since we went away from the gold standard, just like we're talking about, I mean, it's same fiat money,
Right.
same thing, right?
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, hey, man, Andy, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
You know,
guys,
we
thanks
definitely
everybody
appreciate
for putting up with me.
Ryan, do you have anything you want to say? You want to end
I
it?
really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for.
Andy, thank you, sir.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
inviting me, thanks for the beer.
No problem. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next time.
I said sorry for the wait. Been a lot on my plate for being great. Been popping it, it's not a debate. Been plotting on ways to align with the greats and find the opposite of Hollywood and someone to date. She got 100 followers and turned love and hip hop. Just stop. I saw you yesterday at the thrift shop. We all on the way to stay afloat when the ship stop. Wish income could instantly appear in my inbox. Still, I'm getting mine right. Time is finite. That's why I find height inside the limelight.